Hello and welcome to the Manifest to Live Life Golden Show. This is episode 98. Today we're going to discover your emotional code, where that emotional code was created, and how to make the shifts in that emotional code to create the manifestation of your dreams, of your desires, of everything that you have been asking for, maybe for way too long. I watch a lot of people in this world. I'm definitely a seeker. I like to really look at the different layers of personalities and the different ways that people create and the things that they say. I pay attention and I listen, and then I watch. I watch for the manifestations. I watch for the way that the universe sends a signal back. And because I do that, I can share the information that's coming through me that connects with your emotional code and where you may have designed these core set of beliefs that are blocking your manifestation. Anytime you're looking to manifest something and it's not coming, there is a belief that is blocking that. So we have to get to the core set of beliefs to find out, what is the signal that you're sending to yourself every day? What is the signal that you're sending out to the universe about yourself every day on every subject? And where does it come from? You know, we grow up in a society where we are given a set of beliefs by the time we're 5 years old. And I know you've probably have heard me say this maybe 100 times. I'm almost on 100 episodes that our belief systems are created by the age of 5. Because of that, our emotional code becomes something that is outside of ourselves. It was created outside of ourselves. It's not necessarily who we really are. So I've thought about this a lot this week. So all of my kids were in. My oldest daughter came in 10 days ago. She just left today with her husband. And then my granddaughter, my other daughter, came in on Saturday just until Tuesday. So it was a lot. And it came on the heels of, redoing our floors and having our house like a total disaster for like the last month. We've had workers in here and a lot of chaos, and our house has been a disaster. So we just kind of put it all back together. And then all of our girls were here. So it was a lot. And I'm watching the different personalities, and I'm watching my own personality and my own tendency of how I respond or react to each of my children, especially now as they get older. And when we're all together, it's like we're not really used to all being together. So there's navigations that happen. Like my younger two definitely act different when my older one is here because my attention isn't totally on them like it normally is. So everybody like changes a little bit, and I've got to navigate that, and I've got to do it in a way that creates peace and happiness, or else, it's not perfect, people. It's not perfect. I will tell you 1000%. There are real moments of love and joy. And then there are real moments of navigation that happen when we're in relationships with people and they're in relationships with each other. And it's not always perfect. One of the things that I really realized, and this may be something that you can take with you today, is my expectation. Always whenever we get frustrated or angry, it's because we had an expectation that people don't meet. And it's usually an expectation that just comes from us. It's not from anything we've really ever experienced before. So I always have this expectation that we're all going to get along and things are going to be peaceful and everything's going to be wonderful. And we almost made it. We had like an hour left. And then, somebody got mad at somebody else. And then I got mad at them for getting mad at each other, and ended up taking a little walk around my neighborhood to try to calm down. And I get triggered too. And I realized, because this happened the last time we were all together, that it's my expectation that everyone is just always going to get along that gets me into trouble. Because that's not, I don't want to expect people to not get along. But if I'm a little more detached from the fact that I need everybody to get along, then when somebody has an issue with somebody else, I might actually be able to help the situation instead of getting upset and making it a little bit worse. So all in all, it ended up good, and everybody hugged and we love each other and it's all good. And I feel like, some people just needed to vent and needed some support and didn't know how to ask for that. So, there's different personalities and we're navigating those. And it was funny because I was in the shower yesterday and I was thinking, I kind of let myself off the hook because I was like, okay, so that happened. And I don't beat myself up anymore. And I hope you don't either, because when we have these emotions and when we have a little rage and we kind of yell and say things that we don't necessarily mean, it's important to understand that we are human and that we are not perfect. And, I sit on this podcast every week and I share my wisdom with you, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to fall sometimes. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be perfect. It's just not. It's not even anything that I'm really going for right now. Back in the day, maybe I wanted people to think I was. Not anymore. I'm in navigation mode right now. So I'm in the shower and I'm thinking to myself, I am doing the best I can. And because of that, my girls can't draw on any guilt from me because I am literally doing the best I can with what I know, with what I'm being exposed to, with what I'm promoting. All of that, I'm doing the best I can, and I get better all the time, and so do they. And we have to realize that in our relationships, that everyone is going through process. Everyone is going through navigation in this life. And because of that, if we can cut each other a little bit of slack, if we can cut ourselves some slack, and if we can let ourselves be who we need to be and share what we need to share and do it from a place of more neutrality where we're not really getting wrapped up in these old stories. And I promise that's where I'm going with this, is the emotional code of needing to be perfect or needing to not be too sensitive or needing to not be too emotional. These are the things that are causing us to really beat ourselves up and keep ourselves stuck and not manifesting. So as you were growing up, so your emotional code, let's go get into the emotional code. So all in all, my family was amazing. I love and adore my kids so much. I really do. They're really good people. They're just good people. My granddaughter is the joy of my life. I love her so much. She can be a little intense. Like she's intense. She's an intense little girl, but I just adore her. And I had a lot of moments this weekend. First of all, the weather was stellar. Today we're back to like this crazy wind in winter, but during the time that they were here, the weather was just so good. It was so good. We got a couple of beach days in. We actually went to a reggae festival, which was so fun, which I realize now I'm not cut out for because there's nowhere to sit and it's a really long day and it was very exhausting, but we got to see a lot of our favorite bands and that was really fun, and got to be with my daughter and her husband, and that was awesome. So we had a lot of fun. We really did. We had some good family time and some good beach and some good sun. And now I'm ready to get back to life. I cleaned my house today. My house feels amazing because I have these new floors that I didn't totally get to enjoy because everybody's stuff has been here. So that's been, it feels good. It feels good. And I dropped my daughter off at the airport today, and my other daughter left yesterday, and no sadness, no time for sadness. One of my friends was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was like, "No, my heart is so full right now. Like we had such a good time and we did so much that there is no lack." Sometimes I feel like this sadness and missing people is just an addiction to those emotions. I don't need to feel sad about my kids not living near me. It's a part of life. It's accepting that they've moved on, that they have other places they want to live. And then I have this beautiful life that I've created. So I don't need to do that. I'm so full right now. My heart is so full that I can take today and be super happy. And my husband and I are going to snuggle tonight on our clean couch and just like revel in the fact that we successfully had another family gathering. So it's all good. All right. So let's jump into the emotional code. So your emotional code, this came to me recently when I was thinking about like our dispositions. I was thinking about the way that you come into the world. And I was thinking about this with my girls, like how each one of them came into the world with a certain emotional code. And we had to navigate that code and figure out how to best support them in their emotions. Now, when we're born, most of the time our parents are not about that. They're not about supporting our emotional code. They're more about trying to refine us into good humans that just listen and do what they're told. So because of that, We've got, things that happen that create wounds, that create belief systems, that create labels. And we tend to label ourselves as those things and then carry those belief systems around for the rest of our life if we never take a look at them, if we never question them, if we just decide that that's who we are. So growing up, you're going to have these tendencies. Like some people, the glass is half empty, right? And some people, the glass is always half full. They came into the world with a certain disposition. Some people are just really easy. They're really compliant. They're very easy to get along with. Other people are a little more prickly, and they are a little less easy to get along with. And they see they see things very pessimistically. Now, when I was growing up, I definitely had a sunny disposition. There's no doubt about that. I was a happy child, but I had a lot of circumstances with siblings that created a lower vibe for me, which was being afraid for my safety, complaining a lot. I complained a lot. I was unhappy because of a situation where I felt like I was imprisoned. I felt like I couldn't do certain things. I was scared to do certain things. I was scared to, act a certain way. So that shaped and formed my emotional code. And because of that, I became very sensitive. So I became sensitive, emotional, and I didn't really know how to, navigate those things. I became very insecure and had low self-confidence. I had great friendships, and I do believe my friendships and my relationship with my husband was a huge part of my healing. But for a long, long, long time, I had this lower energy belief about myself that I wasn't, that I couldn't, that I wasn't, that I, wasn't special, that I wasn't strong, that I wasn't smart, all of those things, even though I had like straight A's, even though I got a 4.0 in college, like all of those things did not help with that inner core belief system because it was created from the time that I was small, and I kept creating evidence of it by feeling that way. And that's what your core emotional code is going to do. You're constantly going to see evidence of it because it's what you believe about yourself. So it's that signal that you send to the world. And then you get more and more evidence. And then you make decisions about the world. You make decisions about your relationships. You make decisions about people. Like, oh, there's no good men left in the world. Oh, there's no good women left in the world. When we create from those beliefs, we block the energy that can flow manifestation to us that has to do with being in a loving relationship. So when you are younger, your code is defined by others and what you had to do to survive in the world. So if you had to shut down your emotions, if you had to put up walls around your heart to survive, you may still be conducting from that. If you had to do a lot of things to receive love, you may still be looking for love right now from a lackful feeling about yourself, feeling that you're unlovable, feeling that you're lonely, feeling that you're alone in this world. All of those things will beam a signal out, and your relationships will show you evidence of that. That's why this emotional core belief stuff is at the absolute most important thing you can do to shift your manifestational abilities in your life. Because if you've got these lower core beliefs that you've never looked at, that you've never challenged, you will continue to create from them. So today, we're going to challenge them. We're going to challenge them. We're going to become more aware of them. And I'm going to give you the exact steps to start creating new ones and set new intentions and create the new thoughts that will spark the new emotions that will allow you to create differently. All right. So when you had emotions around others, they reacted in certain ways. They created labels around you. So every belief that we have about ourselves is because we have been labeled, which means we've been judged by others and by ourselves. So that label will be something that we will carry around with us. I mean, I see a lot of people do this with like their astrology. Like, I'm a Virgo. I like things neat and organized. Now I'm like much freer about that. I can have a good time when my house is in a little bit of chaos. I can ignore it. I can totally ignore the chaos. In fact, today it was funny. We have this really long shelf when you walk into our house, and I have it all decorated with like different things and pictures of the kids and stuff. And just today, I realized that there was still like paint cans and tools and all this stuff on that shelf. And I'm like, wow, that's something that I could have like packed up and put in the garage and felt better about. But I did it today and it feels amazing. But it's interesting how I've been able to tune that out. I also had one of my daughters has a new friend, and she brought him over last night. And this morning I woke up and I was like, wow, he doesn't really know what my house looks like normally. But no, like normally I would have probably been upset about that. Like, oh my God, you brought somebody over our house when it's like trashed. And it wasn't trashed. I'm being silly, but everything wasn't in its place. And I used to worry about what people thought, no matter who they were, even if they were, just a friend of my daughter's. So that is a change. Those are changes that I've decided to make. And now I no longer suffer from them. I no longer suffer from that need of everything to be always organized. And, I'm cleaning around everyone. And I created a lot of misery in my kids' lives because I needed things to be so for so long. And realizing that and deciding that I didn't want to be that person anymore, that I didn't want to be this typical Virgo. Yes, I am, born in August, and I do have tendencies of a Virgo, but I'm also an expanding being. I have this ability with my consciousness to become more, and so do you. And that's the exciting part about all of this. Any label that you come in contact with can absolutely be changed. Any one of them. And I would love for you to get my new book. I love when I don't have books near me. I just gave all of my desk ones away to my kids, but Mindful Manifestation Secrets Daily Guide and Journal, you can find it on Amazon. That will help you get to your core belief systems to begin to shift them and change them. And it gives you the exact steps to do that. The best way to do it is to go within and ask yourself the questions that you need to connect with these labels. So here are some labels. Here are some things that you may have taken on when you were younger by what happened. You're too emotional. You're too sensitive, high strung. You have behavioral issues. You're a worrywart. I heard that one a lot. A worrywart. Yeah. A complainer. I heard that one a lot. Yeah, my parents used to say I complained all the time, and it was because I was unhappy. It's because I was getting beaten up all the time. It's because I didn't have any control over my life, right? Hello, I'm a Virgo. I want a little control. You're a tattletale. You're a liar. You're a bully. You're selfish. You're lazy. You're a procrastinator. You're fat. You're ugly. You're too skinny. Yeah, I'd love to be heard that, right? I'd love to be called that nowadays. So when I was I was 14 years old and I just started dating my husband, and his dear sweet Uncle Johnny, who I absolutely ended up having like an incredibly deep relationship with later on in life. The first time he met me, I'll never forget. He was sitting in a recliner. He had a big tummy, and he looked at me and he goes, "My goodness, you are so skinny. Why are you so skinny? You need to eat something." And that one moment of total embarrassment and like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me, caused me to spin me out. And I started like eating a lot more food after that. And I didn't like get fat from that. But what I did do is I set up an emotional code with my body that was not healthy for a long time. And even now, I've really done a lot of cleanup on my body. In fact, recently, I have to share this. So I did a detox the last couple of weeks, and I thought it was a really good idea. I was like, I'll do a detox for 2 weeks before my daughter comes. And then when she comes, I should be like good, because I'll be set on healthy eating, and I'll want to be good and blah, blah, blah. So this detox was no sugar, no alcohol, no wheat, no processed foods. It was basically like fruits and vegetables. And I have to tell you, my stomach was not a fan of this. It was 2 shakes a day, and a healthy dinner, and then like some snacks of like nut butters and vegetables, right? So I did great. And I actually didn't drink through January. And then we did this 2 weeks in February. And then my daughter came, and I was a Cookie Monster. Like it was crazy. And stupidly, they like brought home Girl Scout cookies. We went shopping one day and the boys bought all these Girl Scout cookies. And yeah, I've been a little Cookie Monster and I've drank a lot of wine, definitely a lot of wine. So, so I realized that the deprivation is not something that is healthy for me to deprive myself that way. Like I love to clean my body out, but in that severe deprivation, a lot of times I can go overboard. So it was good to acknowledge. It was good to see the process. I'm excited to get back. I have not worked out. It's been like almost 2 weeks since we've been to the gym. So I'm excited to just get back to my normal flow, my normal healthy eating, and not be so depriving. I'm also really curious to see what the scale does because I literally lost 2 pounds during this detox, which is ridiculous. And I realized that I can pretty much eat whatever I want. And I really do eat healthy. I do indulge here and there, but the scale doesn't move. So I've just realized I'm in good shape. I'm muscular, I'm strong, I'm a 50-year-old woman, and I'm going to embrace what I am. And that's it. Like I'm just going to let all this shit go and this trying to lose weight. And it's a roller coaster ride that probably began when my husband's uncle said, "You're too skinny." I mean, I'm sure it happened before that because my mom used to say stuff to me like that all the time. So it's like, where did that emotional code come from? Where did the emotional code come from for me to be unhappy with my body? I was a very thin child. I didn't eat a lot. So my parents used to worry about me having an eating disorder, which was ridiculous. I never did. Um, so knowing that, and then as I got into having babies and stuff, then I started to really get conscious about health and exercise. And it just feels like it's always been this thing that I'm trying to attain and I can never really capture it. And that just feels exhausting. Like that feels like I can't manifest what I want. So it's about loving and accepting my body for what it is as a 50-year-old woman and eating the way I really want to eat intuitively and feeling really good about myself. So you can do that. You can change these core beliefs about yourself. You can identify with a healthy, strong, fit person body and accept what it is. You don't have to continually fight what's happening within you or around you. And, you know, honestly, food and emotions, like if you are eating for emotions, that's something to really look at. So I was eating for fun. I definitely wasn't eating for emotions, although there was stress. You know, when you got all the kids together, there was definitely stress. So I'm sure that was a piece of it. But honestly, I just wanted cookies, and sometimes I am a cookie monster. All right, moving on. So, smart, slow, dumb, unlovable, untrustworthy, depressed. You know, what are these labels that you have been given since the time you were little that you continue to live? You know, I talk to so many people that are like, oh, I struggle with depression or, you know, bipolar disorder or OCD or all these things. And it's like, why can't we just get in solution mode? Why do we have to label ourselves as something that feels so powerless, that literally sends a signal to us every day, all day long, and sends a signal out to everyone around us? Why do we want to do that? You know, I've met people that say, oh, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and they haven't drank in 30 years. And I'm like, why do you still want to identify with that? And I get it. If that's what you need to do to keep yourself sober, I get that. But don't you want to move forward? Don't you want to create some, like, how about I'm just a healthy person that doesn't put toxins in my body? Like, why isn't that a thing? Why does it have to be I'm a recovering alcoholic, which basically puts you at a deficit? You know, I've always been poor. You know, I'm always struggling. I can't get out of this, you know, this never having enough business. Like, why do we want to set ourselves up with that? Can we change it? Yes, we absolutely can. So these labels have set us up with core beliefs that manifest in every area of our life. They show up in our self-talk, and then we see physical evidence in our relationships around us and our relationship to things. So our relationship to food, our relationship to money, our relationship with the world as a whole shows up from these core belief systems. And I don't believe that this has to be something that's like buried in your subconscious. I believe when you start asking the questions, you will gain the wisdom that will reveal these things to you. All right. We are getting constant feedback by how we feel. So, what are your tendencies? Your tendencies are the things that drive the energy field. So, I actually had a question on my Manifest to Live Life Golden page. And a dear friend of mine is going through a divorce, and she's currently living in her mobile home. And, she's got, I think she's going for another thing with the divorce where she's got to show up and they're going to start deciding things. And I would say to anyone who's going through a really life-changing thing like that, like you were in a home and you're not in that home anymore, you are with a person and you're not with that person anymore, and your situation is not optimal, I would say hold on tight, because things are going to change. And when things feel really, really, really intense, when that density of that energy is so heavy and you feel like you can't take it anymore, that's when it's about to pop. That's when it's about to change. But if you are consistently in that low level of misery and allowing yourself to go into depression, which might be a tendency for you, or I actually have a client who had some issues with her family, left the house. She didn't yell at them like I did. She just left. She left the house and she drove away, and she said, "I didn't stop for Pepsi and M&Ms, and that is different. That's a change." And I said, "That's changing a tendency, because you're not running to these things to try to fill yourself up. You're dealing with your emotions." And she talked to me. And that's huge progress. So in anything, I'm watching people navigate life and looking at the way things are changing. Today, we have a dog that barks across the street like incessantly. And my daughter's done a lot of things to try to change it. And it wakes her up in the morning. It keeps her up at night. And these people leave their dog out when they shouldn't. Like today was freezing. It's windy here. It was 40 degrees this morning and the dog was outside, and it's a little dog. So, normally she complains to me, she cries, she flips out, she talks about doing things, she never does anything about it. Now, she has written them a letter and left it in their mailbox and even baked them cookies, asking them nicely, and they haven't done it. So today she got up, she went downstairs, she's like, "I've had enough." And she walked out the door and she knocked on their door. And the lady came to the door, took the dog from outside, came to the door with the dog. And the lady was very rude to her. But my daughter, I feel like she said, "Wow, that was a change for me to stand in my power and ask for what I need." So maybe that'll create change. And if it doesn't, then we'll go to the next step of solution, which I already have some ideas about. But the cool thing is she's not whining and complaining and being a victim anymore. She decided to do something about it. So are you doing that? Are you whining and complaining and being a victim, or are you deciding for yourself what you want to happen? If you're going through a divorce, I would highly recommend, I've walked a lot of women through divorce, I would highly recommend writing down what you want to happen. You write down what you want to happen. You navigate the procedure. You watch the energy field. You watch the energy that you're sending to the energy field, and you really work to not be so reactive and start honing your responses, taking deep breaths, creating space, not allowing the triggers to rule the emotions, right? Divorce is a huge healing procedure. It's a huge healing procedure. It will heal you on a lot of different levels, and it will bring you to a feeling of powerlessness that you have to rise above. You have to rise above it. Any breakup, especially an intense one where you've been married to somebody for a long time and it's changed your entire world, it is a call to your power every single time. So if you want a home, if you want to, you got to start thinking about possibilities instead of feeling like you're stuck and you only have one solution. Solutions are coming, baby, all the time. Trust me. Please trust me. Okay. Let's see, what are your tendencies? Consistent stories you tell that drive your behaviors, okay? What are the consistent stories that drive your behaviors? So if you have issues with friends and they leave you out all the time, what is your tendency with that? What is your tendency to believe that? I recently had some stuff going on with some friends, and I have one friend and she has a tendency to believe that people don't like her. And when she said something about that, I just said, that's your tendency. You got to change that tendency if you want to experience something else. You have to say, that's about them. That's not about me. I'm not taking that on as my story. That's super important to change the energy field. So if you've been abandoned, if you've had a lot of breakups, if you've had a lot of friendships, and there is wounds in there that you've got to come in contact with to find out what those core beliefs are that were driving those relationships. If you've had people cheat on you a lot, there is a story that you have going on. You will come into that relationship. If you had somebody that just cheated on you, like let's say you had a long marriage that ended because the person was cheating on you. And then you come into a new relationship and you don't trust that new person because of what you experienced in the last relationship, you are going to create that again. So you've got to deal with your stuff. This is all about going in and deciding what you want and then having a better communication with this new person about what your triggers are, about what your wounds are, and how certain things that are going on make you feel and how you don't want to be in this distrustful relationship. A long time ago, I created this energy with my husband, and he has the same energy with me where we trust each other. We trust each other's guidance. You know, if he does something and I'm not sure about it, I'm like, I trust your guidance. That gives us a very strong resolve with each other and causes us to not undermine each other, not undermine our own intuitions. And you've got to have a pretty high regard for your partner if you want to have that kind of trust. And that is, that's a strong foundation that's building on that. And that's making decisions. There was a time when I didn't trust my husband. There was a time when he didn't trust my guidance. I haven't always been like super with it. Like I haven't always been super intuitive or like super on it. And I've definitely made a lot of mistakes because I had a low self-esteem and I had low self-confidence and I didn't really trust myself and I would screw things up. I still, will have times when the details, I need to hire a detail person. Like I've done my best to clean that up, but there's still times when the details just elude me. Or recently, interestingly, because I haven't been meditating, I haven't meditated like in the last 2 weeks. Maybe once I did. I'm not even sure. It's just been 24/7, like fun, adventure, things going on, people to talk to. My intuition was super off. So we leave for the concert and I forget my jacket. It's supposed to get like 50 degrees at night. So we have to turn around, get my jacket. And then I totally wear the wrong jacket into the concert and I can't go back to the car. So I was in like regret for a little while because I didn't have the right jacket on. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I watch myself and I'm like, these are your tendencies and you don't want to do this anymore. And you don't want to create misery from this anymore. So it's just recognizing it and then deciding where you want to go. So, I wanted to just touch on this little, are you looking from, okay, the feeling guilty thing if you're a mom or just feeling guilty in relationships. So, when we're serving other people and we're doing a lot of like people pleasing, or mom guilt's a huge one. It's huge. And these kids will freaking play on it. I'm telling you right now, kids will play on mom guilt like you wouldn't believe. If any of you grew up Catholic, there was the Catholic guilt. So it's the guilt. And like, what is guilt? Guilt is one of the lowest emotions on the emotional scale. It's like right above depression is guilt. And it serves absolutely no purpose. And it is reflected big time. When you feel guilty, people will reflect that to you big time, which will make you feel even more guilty and make you feel even worse about yourself. So guilt, if you can give that up, that is one thing. And a part of the reason why I've been able to give up the mom guilt with my kids is because I truly recognize and I truly am doing the best I can. And I'm always working to process and become more. I'm always working to become a more aware person, to, thank them, to love them, to give them the support. I mean, 4 girls, you guys, plus a granddaughter. It's a lot. Like it's a lot of emotions. It's a lot of support. And plus I have clients and I've got the world and I've got a lot of things going on. And I'm not like patting myself on the back, but what I am saying is it's a load, it's a load that I carry, and it's not always perfect. And I'm not always great at it, but for the most part, I'm doing the best I can. And I got to give myself some credit for that, because if we run from guilt, that's the biggest thing with tendencies. If you can look at and say, all right, what am I running my energy through? What am I running my love through? What am I running my energy through? Which means, like, what is the core of what I'm looking to get? If I'm looking to get love for doing this, or am I just doing this out of the goodness of my heart? Am I doing this because my heart is full and I love these people? Or am I doing it because I want them to love me, because I want them to accept me, because I want them to like me? Really look at that, because that is core beliefs and wounds that are driving energy, that are causing you to try to get love from a very lackful place. And that will always leave you feeling lackful. And it will always leave relationships very imbalanced and very out of the exchange. Like, the exchange will be very imbalanced, and you'll be giving a lot, and then you're going to start feeling resentful and empty, and nobody wants to do that. Or if you're the opposite, if you're a taker, please, let's talk about taking. If you're just a taker, and these people have been labeled as narcissists and whatever, I think it's just consciousness. I think it's knowing, I think it's spiritually awakening to the fact that there are other people around you. And if you're always taking, right? If you're a victim and you're always taking and you're always expecting others to give to you because you're a victim, you're in an imbalance with the universe. And then it's really hard for you to balance your energies and become abundant, because you're always looking for a handout. I know a lot of people like this. Or you're always taking in your relationships. So people start to feel like that relationship is just a drain. And that could be why your relationships struggle. So really look at, am I giving and receiving? And am I in balance with my energy field? Or is this relationship all about me taking from them? Take a look at that. That one's a good one. That's really important. I am not a taker. I am very much a giver, but because of that, I've gotten in relationships with takers. And I know when I start to feel like people are just taking, I know that that I've got to back up, that I got to create some space, or else the relationship is pretty much in danger of failure. So I've learned that over the years. I really have. And I most likely won't get in super deep connected relationships with people who are takers, because I'm just not a fan. Absolutely not a fan. Okay. Okay. So how do we change this? Okay. So first, you have to acknowledge. You got to acknowledge what's going on. You got to look at your belief systems. You got to get my book, get that journal, start writing things out, start looking at your core belief systems, and start looking at the ways in which you give and receive love. That's going to tell you a lot about what's going on in your life. All right. So first, you must acknowledge. Second, you have to catch yourself. You got to catch yourself in these tendencies, and you have to go, okay, so I'll use my example with my girls. They get into a fight. I'm like, oh my gosh, we had 1 hour left. I'm caught off guard because I thought we were already in the safe zone. And I start to get upset, and I walk out the door. And I walked out the door because I knew staying home, which was a tendency to keep yelling at people, to keep telling people what they're doing wrong, I knew that if I walked out the door, I could shift the energy. I knew this. So I put on my shoe, actually took my shoes outside, put them on outside, and I walked around the neighborhood. And it was pretty funny because I'm like walking around the neighborhood, and the only time I ever walk around my neighborhood is sometimes my husband and I will do it like at night. It's been a while. That was a COVID thing. But I usually am with my neighbor and her dog. We're usually walking her dog around, and I'm like, I'm just a normal person walking around, like steam's coming out of my ears. But by the time, I have a pretty small neighborhood, it's a little circle. By the time I got back to my house, I felt great. Like I felt fine. Like I was able to shift the energy because I changed the vibration. I didn't stay in that super dense energy field. And then when my daughters came around, I hugged them. I loved them. I gave them the support that they needed. And we shared what was going on with each other. And that was really, really important and really special, because I grew up with energy that would have like created a few days where we would have not talked to each other. So I'm changing these generational cycles, which is so good. So good. So look at the tendencies of what your childhood environment was like and what you guys did. If your tendency is to shut down your heart and go into silent treatment, that's a tendency that's going to create rifts in relationships. That's going to create distrust in relationships. That's going to create like big chasms in relationships that end up like not even being able to save them. So what's your tendency? Open your heart, have some compassion, have some love, realize people are going through stuff. They got their own stresses, and then come back together in love and understanding. You will create better relationships. Our kids, our whole world of people have emotions that they don't know how to deal with. And oftentimes we've been told that our emotions are not valid or our emotions are not good for us. We've been told to take drugs and, go talk to somebody if you can't get a hold of your emotions. We've never really been dealt with the fact that like our emotions are a window into what's going on within us, and they're a window into our healing. So it's important to get in touch with that emotional field and what is our tendency. They are also addictive. I've shared that before. Our emotions are addictive. So we've got to look at that addictive energy of, being a mom who yells at everybody. Sometimes that feels good. Sometimes the rage feels a little good to get some shit out, like especially if you've been holding on to it for a little while. So I'm not saying it's an awful thing, but where it does get us into trouble is that when we create these wounds and then we don't come back and talk about it and create some depth in our relationships because we pretend like nothing happened. I hate that. We used to do that all the time. Sweep the shit under the rug, right? I think that was the generation that I grew up in where everybody swept everything under the rug and goodness gracious, don't let grandma find out, Not healthy, not healthy. Like that's the shit that leads to cancer and disease is when we're not sharing what's really going on within us and we're just stuffing it down with substances and unhealthy foods and unhealthy activities. We've got to acknowledge what's going on within. And with our relationships, that is the best way to create some depth, compassion, love, and a really strong energy between each other. All right. So addictive emotions, we don't want to be addicted to them. So look at your tendencies. If you've got an emotional field running wild where you feel like you don't have any control over it, going and journaling and meditating is going to help you to start to gain a handle on it. All right. Set new intentions for who you want to be and what you want to experience. If you've got a tendency of feeling left out all the time, decide you're not going to feel that anymore. I don't need to feel that. I don't need to feel left out. I'm a great person. I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be my funny self. I'm not going to care. I'm just going to let it go. And it may take you a little while, it may take you some talking down to get away from that feeling, but it'll work. You just got to stay with it. You got to talk yourself down. Become your new identity by deciding, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be, I'm going to say what I need to say and I'm going to share what I need to share. And if something hurts me, I'm going to let people know that I'm working on it, that I'm in process, that I'm in navigation, and I'm not going to feel guilty for the way I feel. I'm not going to feel guilty for my emotions being a little out of control sometimes because I'm a freaking human. You're freaking human. Humans have emotions. We're not perfect. We're not meant to be perfect. Even the most spiritually awakened person, Jesus flipped the tables, right? So there's moments where we have these emotions and they're necessary and they're important and they're a part of our human condition. Okay. So by discovering what those new beliefs are, you can connect with them and you can start to interrupt the old beliefs. So here's some questions you can ask yourself. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm a little long today. Hello. Didn't even notice the time. But these are a couple of questions like, do I want to believe in confusion or clarity? When you start to feel a little confused about something, you can get yourself like down a rabbit hole and then all of a sudden you're overthinking and you're anxious. Do I want to believe in confusion or clarity? I want to believe in clarity. When you start saying, I want to believe in clarity, you open up your wisdom channel. and you shut down the anxiety that's going to cause more confusion. That's a frequency, right? That's tuning into a frequency. Do I want to believe in procrastination or just doing it? Nike had something, man. Just do it. Just do it. I don't think about my exercise. I just do it. Not in the last 2 weeks, but I'm going back to it right away because I know that's important. I know a tendency for me, if I let it go from vacation, it can be challenging to get back. So I'm just going to go do it. I'm just going to go do it. All right. Do I want to keep feeling unloved, lonely, and abandoned? Or do I want happy, loving, whole relationships? It's all about where you focus. Do I even believe I can believe something else about myself? Am I challenging that today? Do I even believe I can become someone else? You got to have a little bit to start shifting. Of course you can. A belief is just a thought you can keep that you keep thinking. It's just a thought you keep thinking. Beliefs are just thoughts, and they're thoughts that you've got some momentum around. So shifting it is being aware of it and deciding, being aware of it and deciding, interrupting, deciding. Okay, how will I prove that I've changed? How will I prove that I've changed? So let's say, you deal with some procrastination. I'm going to go do it. That's how I'm going to prove that I changed. With my daughter, how can she prove that she changed, that she's not a victim to this dog across the street? She can go knock on their door. We can do other things too. So how can I prove that I changed? I can get upset and not go buy Pepsi and M&Ms. I can get upset with my kids and go for a walk and come back and be a loving mom again. That's how I prove that I changed. It's not me getting upset that I yelled at my kids. It's not about that. It's not about saying, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Like, here you are, you have a podcast and all these people look to you for advice. And here you are like yelling at your kids. No, I'm a freaking human. And I came back and I rocked it. And you can do that as well. You can come back to it. I think it's one of the greatest things that we can show our kids, that we can have moments like that and we can come back and be loving and compassionate and create some understanding and give hugs and love. I think that's awesome. I think that's better than acting like this perfect mom, because you're showing them that it's okay to have an emotional field. You're showing them that you're human and that they don't have this impossible standard to live up to. So it's a really good thing. All right. Can I send the signal by feeling different and have faith that it's all unfolding for me? I was talking to somebody the other day and they were really upset about money and they were really overwhelmed and really anxious and crying. And I said, what do you want to happen? And they said, I really want to get this money. They have this money that they've been waiting on and they're about to get it, but they don't know when they're going to get it and they don't know if they're going to get it. And I said, would you be crying right now if you knew that money was coming tomorrow? And she said, no. And I said, then that's how you have to act. That's how you have to act to shift the manifestation. So you have to ask yourself, would you be miserable if you knew all your dreams were going to come true tomorrow? Or would you be excited? You have to start getting into the identity and the shift of the energy field in order to promote the beliefs that connect with that manifestation. Can I think in new ways, do new things, and become someone new? And what if I didn't respond in the same way? You got to have some space to do this, you guys. You know that. You got to have a meditation practice. That might have been part of my problem. I was not doing the meditation thing. And I didn't even really, I don't even feel like it was a big problem. I think when we have things that happen in life and they're not perfect, it just shows us that we've got to make some shifts. We've got to make some changes. We've got to work to create something new, because the old ways of thinking, the old addictions to emotions no longer work for us in what we're looking to manifest. So we must shift them. Little millimeter shifts. So look at what you're looking to manifest. Look at what you believe about it. Look at what you believe about yourself. And then start shifting those beliefs to what you want to believe. I want to believe I'm healthy, fit, and strong. So guess what? I'm going back to the gym tomorrow. Yes, I am. I'm going to not eat any more cookies. I actually hid them in the garage. I know where they are, but they're not in plain sight. So I'm just going to forget about them. I'm just going to put them out of my head. I am not a Cookie Monster any longer. I'm also going to put the wine down because I know I feel better when I don't drink wine every day. I know this. So that was a tendency. I got a little triggered, vacation, it happens. And I forgive myself and I move on and I don't beat myself up. So don't do that. Do not beat yourself up. That does not help you change. That actually keeps you the same. That keeps those core beliefs beaming out a signal to the same identity of who you say you don't want to be. All right, you guys, that is my show for today. You can get Mindful Manifestation Secrets Daily Guide and Journal on Amazon. It takes a little while to get, so I would order it now, but it's got a lot of great. I had a guy on Facebook today, so sweet. He said he wanted to order a new one because he wanted to keep one blank because it was so pretty. And I just thought, oh my God, that's so sweet. So maybe you want to order two. Also, Mindful Manifestation Secrets is a breakdown of how energy works. And it's our story of how we moved to California and went for our dreams. That's a great guide. If you're new to Law of Attraction, that's a really good one to start with. That's also available on Amazon. And I have Quantum Speak for Parents, which is, if you need any kind of parenting help, that is an amazing book on navigating the energy field with your children and creating peaceful, loving relationships, not perfect ones, but ones where you can create more depth. Relationships in general, I really feel like are here to teach us so much about ourselves and to help us expand and grow. And that is awesome. It's absolutely awesome. So look at your relationships. If you want to improve upon them, you got to work from within, and then they can reflect to you how much you've done, how much work you've done, and how you've changed your core belief emotional code to I am lovable, I am strong, I am healthy, I am powerful, I am the I am. All right. Love y'all. Peace.